Hey, okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Ron. It's Monday, June 22nd, uh, 2026, a little after 6 p.m. See if we have any questions. I listened to the videos, of course, but I missed you guys last few days. But we've been talking about feminine energy from different perspectives. And one of the things that I really got out of yesterday's discussion was not only that the how the early church and early relationships between men and women sort of was off balance, really out of balance, but and what they thought of women, but how they viewed them in the church, and a lot of that energy is still known and prevalent today, but very active in the African church and the black churches here. Uh, and that's kind of startling to me, but true. And so that got my attention. But a number of things are talked about. But do you have any questions about that or anything else that you may have heard? Okay. Uh, if you don't have any questions, I'll turn it over to Pastor. I think he wants to continue with this discussion. If no one has any questions, comments. Okay, thank you, Pastor. Are you muted, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Um, Yesterday and the day before, we were talking about femininity, and we started talking about on Saturday about the reason, one of the reasons anyway, that it's so difficult for us to move forward with deliverance is because all of the movements have been led by masculinity, and the very thing that's creating the issues that we are dealing with is masculinity. And we cannot expect the mindset, the masculinity rather, with the mindset of Europeans or with the European education to bring deliverance to us when it is that type of thought that put us in the position that we were in. And we talked about the woman being the bridge between man and God, and how the pathiogenesis is what gave the uh, the femininity the ability to bring into existence or to have a baby without having having intercourse with a male. And um, yesterday, we went even further. We were talking about how the church itself um, laid the foundation against women from the beginning, uh, and the major point of emphasis with the church was that women were the only value in females was to please the man in her life or her husband sexually and to have babies. And there were also references about women as being animals. So there were so many derogatory things about women. It is I do believe if women were to do their own research and read these the foundations or the layers of this church, they would walk away from it. If they wouldn't, I don't know why they wouldn't. The other thing is that this in itself proves to us that the church itself has nothing to do with our Creator. It has nothing to do with spirituality. It is simply religious. It has nothing to do with any truth whatsoever. Then we also talked about homosexuality yesterday. And the major point in the discussion of homosexuality yesterday was for us to see that it is If we are railing against homosexuality and we say that we embrace femininity, then that cannot be true, because the same feminine energy that a female expresses is the same feminine energy that is expressed through homosexuality. So the energy is the same. And if you cannot denigrate one because it's in a different body than the body that an homosexual occupies. So we talked about that. And when if we put it all together, what we would conclude, I do think, is that when we totally come to grips with the reality that men did not exist in the beginning, and that their existence did not come into play until after the birth from the female, and also that we do not have authority nor the right to denigrate people who are homosexual or lesbian. We don't have the right to denigrate anyone. We don't have the authority to do that, and it is absolutely positively against everything spiritual for us to engage in those kinds of antics. And are there any questions about this or comments? Okay, having said that, today, what I would like to look at is something that we talked about years ago, but it was brought back to my attention today. This morning, I went outside to do my meditation, as I've told you. I do it in the sun, and I was consciously this morning seeking directions in how to put all of this together in terms of femininity that we have been discussing. And as usual, at that moment, I did not hear anything, and that's common for me. However, I trust what I experienced during that moment. So then, after having come back into the house, I guess about an hour later, my phone rang. And I was talking with Dunn. And during the course of our conversation, he said something to me. As a matter of fact, he raised a question. And the question was, suppose that the womb is the Holy of Holies. And I said to him, stop right there. Don't say anything else. I don't want to expand on that at all until we get on this evening, because something clicked in me. It was like a whole understanding went through me instantly, and that was the response from the ancestors who opening up the Akashic consciousness, so that in response rather to my desires to bring all of this together. And what I saw is this. I see very clearly that the womb is indeed the place of the Holy of Holies. The scripture talks about the curtain that covered the Holy of Holies. And it talks about when deliverance was resurrected. In other words, when humanity comes to a place where it is being delivered, or it is seeing the manifestation of deliverance, because everything that has stifled deliverance from the hands of chaos has now fallen into disarray. And it talked about when the curtain in the Holy of Holies tore from top to bottom. And when he said that, immediately, what came to my mind was the hymen. The hymen being torn before there can be life in the womb, and having been shown that, it all made sense to me. Out of all the things that we have talked about in the last couple of days, what we are seeing now is is a womb that is the house or of deliverance itself. What do I mean? What I'm saying is this: the womb being the place of the Holy of Holies, it has been that from the beginning. In the womb, there were physical bodies that were brought into existence with the pineal gland being filled with the light, which is our soul, which is who we are. And with those bodies being knitted in the Holy of Holies, it means that when that light entered those bodies, the entities that light, the enlightenment or the light in the pineal gland, brought with it divinity. So what happened is, out of the place of the Holy of Holies came a body that housed the divinity in this earth, and out of those bodies that were knitted in that womb came everyone else in this earth. So the divinity of those who are melanated, the divinity of melanation came into existence from the Holy of Holies, and that is what set it aside for the express purpose of bringing humanity into this earth, and also having the authority, having the obligation, and having been commanded to dominate these melanated bodies that housed the essence of who we are in terms of being the light, or the pattern that from which other people were created. And that pattern is the image, which is our bodies. And now the likeness is what we are seeking to bring into this earth now. And when I say likeness, I'm talking about the principles of Ma'at, the energy of righteousness, the energy of balance, the energy of love and kindness. So when this was mentioned to me, these are the things that I saw immediately. So I'm going to stop here and ask you if there are comments or questions about this or anything that relates to it.
Good evening. Could you speak a little bit more about the that hymen and what you're talking about with the Holy of Holies? Like, can you go deeper into that parallel for me?
What I'm saying is that a female, before a female engages in intercourse, there is a thin layer of skin inside of her vagina, and it's called the hymen. And when penetration takes place, the hymen tears, and when it tears, she bleeds. And I'm saying that the hymen is indicative of what the scripture means when it talks about the curtain that covered the Holy of Holies, covered that place where all life resided, that covered that place for where the origin of life had its genesis. Does that help, Regina?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, family, or good evening. So how is it, I'm trying to see how I'm going to formulate this question. Okay, that's the holies of holies. What happened if you let someone who has no, what if someone who wants to enter the holies of holies just to satisfy their need instead of being on the same page with that female?
When
Does
that
that resonate what I'm saying?
it does, it does. When that happens, that can very well end in an ugly way. What do I mean by that? Why is it that when most females engage in intimacy with someone who do not care anything about them except engaging with them for intercourse, and they don't find out about it until after the act is done? And then they come to the understanding that this person really didn't care about me. Why is it that they feel so bad? Why is it that they feel dirty? Why is it that they feel contaminated? Because without the knowledge of who they are and without the knowledge of the person who they were with, the person who they were with not having knowledge of self either, both of them have participated in contaminating or engaging in a physical act that carries spiritual connotations without them knowing it. And that comes back to bite you in so many different ways. It can come back to bite you by virtue of the person's the shifting attitude of that person, meaning the male, or the shifting attitude of the female who is the recipient of the penetration. So I cannot elucidate every single thing that can happen as a result of that taking place, because there are so many variables involved in it, and there are so many broken hearts. There are so many people whose lives have been altered by that. Why is it that that is better to kill a woman than to rape her? Because raping a woman carries with it a type of filth in the depths of her soul that she has a problem dealing with. It's something that she carries with her throughout her life. And that is the reason why the European mindset always made it a part of their brutality to rape women, because of how it tears at their soul, and how and the depth of the emotional damage that it does to them. Does that help you, Evan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It does.
Thank you.
So it does mess with you mentally. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Every time that you have intercourse, there is a spiritual act. It is a spiritual act, and it is a physical act at the same time. The physical aspects of it is that the energy from the sperm that enters your body also enters into your bloodstream, and it houses itself in the brain. You carry aspects of the one who you engaged in intercourse with. How is it that a woman can be with a man who beats her, who's mean to her or who is verbally abusive to her, or all of the above. And she finally gets the strength to walk away from that relationship. And when she leaves that relationship, it seems as though the only one that she attracts are people who has that kind of mindset. She has to intentionally desire to be separated from that energy. Now, she doesn't know it's that energy. So what she says is, I am tired of attracting this kind of person or this type of man in my life. And something got to happen. So when she, with a sincerity, seek to understand how to do that without her even knowing it, the ancestors will guide her mind and aid her in moving away from it. However, if she doesn't have that intention, it is very easy for her to be caught up in that situation again. Is that clear? Or does that resonate?
That does
Yes.
resonate. So you saying it's in cycles that you will continue to repeat this until you either become abstinence celibate, or you realize that you have to make the right choice when it comes to your partner or who
Yes.
you let enter the holies of holies.
Yes. Yes. I am saying that. And I'm saying that we have been so frivolous when it came to intimacy, to the extent that we have been servicing or we have been responding to the physical needs, but we have not been given any direction or understanding of the spiritual aspects of it. The spiritual aspects of it speaks to the energy that's not only in the sperm, but also the energy that's in that female. So now that we are beginning to understand that intercourse is not just a physical act that makes you feel good, it is not just a physical act for selfish reasons. It is a spiritual act that you engage in because of the affinity that you have for the person that you align with. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, does that resonate? Yes, James.
Yes.
There are so many times when people lay together, when they have intercourse together, and they are pleased. And because of what they feel, they think that they're in love, they get married, and then they find out that the personality of that person is not the personality that they thought it was. They have looked beyond that because they were receiving what they wanted. And what they were receiving was physical gratification. And that works on both sides of the, whether it's masculine or feminine. That physical gratification is what we see, what we experience, but it goes much, much deeper than that. And when we come to understand that, then when we become cognizant of that, we become more cautious about who we are intimate with. We become more cautious about who we allow to enter our space, meaning the attitude that you bring into my space or the attitude that I bring into your space. Because what has been happening is that we see the person, we hear the voice, we feel the energy, and we don't go beyond that. We don't ask ourselves any questions. We just simply know what we are experiencing at that moment. We don't deal with, we don't think about the spiritual aspects, meaning that we don't consider how our whole demeanor, how the trajectory of our lives can be altered by this intimacy with this person. And I'm not just talking about through impregnation. I'm talking about simply by having intercourse simply because you want to be pleased. You want personal physical gratification. Can you see that?
Yeah, I got one more question for right now. So I don't know if you explained this already. So what happens in the holies of holies?
In the holies of holies, whether there is an impregnation take place or not, something still happens there. The absorption of a portion of the sperm, the absorption of the energy from that sperm is embraced by the body of that female, and she becomes or he becomes a part of who she is, and that energy houses itself in that brain, and that female begins to develop an affinity for that particular type of energy. Not so much the person itself, when in many instances, yes, that's what it is, but for that type of person, that attitude. And so you can cause, or you can alter rather, your future by virtue of receiving and carrying the energy with you that is not compatible to your desires prior to you entering into that relationship with that person that ended with that resulted in intercourse. I hope I'm not rambling. Am I being
You're
clear?
not.
You're not.
Am I rambling? I need you to know
No,
this.
you're not.
No, you're not.
Thank you. Because this is important. Why is it so important? If we are going to talk about the femininity and how powerful it is, if we are going to talk about the reason we are not free, one of the major reasons we are not seeing that manifestation is because we've been looking in the wrong places with the wrong energy. And the wrong energy is that of the enslaver. We have to understand and embrace where life had its beginning, and that was in the womb of femininity. And as a result of that, we also had to say, embrace that is a reality, and that men were not in existence until they came from that womb. And that the bridge between us and our creator is that woman. So if we really look at it, the church had written that man received from God through Jesus, and the woman received from Jesus through her husband or through the man. Well, what they actually did was tore apart the reality of what it is. If that womb is given life, or has life in it rather, without a male having to place a seed in it, and out of that womb comes a male, then that means that life for that male and everything else that comes out of that womb, the genesis of all of that life is that feminine womb that gave birth in the first place. So having said that, that also means that if we are disrespectful of that womb, or if we utilize that womb and engage in intercourse based upon the mindset of the European, based upon the mindset of a Neanderthal, then the energy that we are engaging with is a type of chaotic energy that can create chaos in our lives and have us in such a flux until we don't understand whether we are in love or whether this is lust. We have issues with that. And in the society that we live in, it is okay for a man to play with the heart of a woman. It's okay for him to play with her. And if she challenges that, then she is the one who's made to feel guilty about what she's saying and what she has done. That is done on purpose. So the society itself is stacked against the female. And if our attitude is based upon the society we have grown up in, it is difficult for us to have what I would say, spiritual intercourse at the same time as being physical. It takes an understanding of who we are. It takes a desire to move in that direction. What I'm saying is that there comes a time when there are people in this earth who do not clearly understand what they are doing, but they're like, God, when I become intimate with this person, let a spiritual birth take place. Bring us understanding about these scriptures. Bring us understanding about who you are. And those, when that happens, the spiritual birth that takes place, the people don't even realize it. What they actually see is an understanding that they did not have, but they don't make that real connection because they don't understand the magnitude of the spirituality, of the spiritual essence and energy that they have. And then the day does come when they understand that, or when they get a glimpse of it, and it's at that juncture that their whole life began to shift. And when it shifts, they don't see intercourse as being nasty and dirty. They don't see intercourse through the eyes of this society. They begin to see it through the eye. They don't see each other. The male doesn't see the female as a sex object like the church has presented her to be. The female doesn't see that male simply as somebody who will take care of me, or someone who I got to have in order for me to be accepted as being a woman or successful in this society. All of that changes. All of that begins to shift. And what happened when it began to shift, it shifted a bit too far, because you don't hear anyone talking about that's a strong white woman. The black woman is strong and independent. Have you not heard that? I'm a strong, independent black woman.
Yes.
You don't hear anybody saying this, I'm a strong, independent white woman. So why does that happen with the black woman? Because if you say that I am a strong, independent black woman, I don't need masculinity, is what you're saying, without even saying those words. You are a strong woman, period. You do not have to use adjectives like I'm a strong black woman. You know who you are. The idea of an independent woman in this society is not talking about the independence to make decisions that's going to bring you a better understanding of spirituality. It's talking about I am independent. I can take care of myself. I don't need any male to help me. And that's wrong. Our attitude has to shift. And the reason it shifted that far is because success in this society is based on the acquisition of things, as opposed to that being based upon knowing who you are. And the heck of it is this. we look at all of these things and think somebody is successful. And we don't understand how they got it. Could be drug, could be illegal, or it could be that, yeah, they have these things and it looks great from the outside, but they're struggling. They don't have two nickels to rub together because they're trying to put up a front that they are somebody they're not. All of these things play into intercourse. All of this, because of the energies that interplay with each other when you're intimate with someone. Can you see that?
Admittedly, I can.
So what happens? You end up damaged. You end up hurt. That's male or female. Because of how the relationship progressed or didn't progress at all. And society begins to blame. And 99% of the time, the blame falls on the shoulders of femininity. Questions or comments? I hope I'm being clear this evening. If there are no questions and no comments, then I'm going to wrap it up. All I'm saying is this.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm listening to what you're saying, and one of the things I've always wondered about, why is it called the Holy of Holies, as though there are other types of holy or other holies that you can engage in? And I'm wondering, is it called the Holy of Holies because the Holy of Holies is the balance that you describe when you're educated and know what you're doing and not just having a pleasure? So it becomes spiritually enlightened when you understand what is taking place and it's not just a pleasure thing.
Let me start with the physical first, okay?
Okay.
When we were brought into this earth physically, we formed a kingdom called the Kushite kingdom. And as the Kushite kingdom grew, it became more aware of its spiritual nature. And the more it became aware of its spiritual nature, it became aware also of those who were in the midst of the kingdom, who appeared to be more in tune with everything spiritual, meaning understanding the universe, understanding of beginning to see the rudiments of the sciences and seeing the spiritual nature of them, while others, though they were spiritual and though they were one with the Creator, their understandings was not at the place where this group of people understanding was. So every piece of ground, every space that the Kushites occupied was holy. However, there was an inspiration that came from ancestors, that came from Akashic consciousness, that came from the source. And what happened? When that happened, a decision was made by the leadership. We need to designate a place where these who have a deeper understanding of the spirituality, where they can be in one place and begin to teach us all of us and give us a greater understanding of the enlightenment that we are in this earth, and help us to understand this connection, or this oneness with the universe. That we look at the heavens and we see all of these things, and we know that they are spiritual, but there are those who know the spiritual essence of them. So we are going to set up a place for this to happen, and then the source steps in and touches the heart of someone in that leadership, and that leadership says we need to move north, meaning that we need to set up this space. So what do? They set up a place called Hakupata. They call it Egypt today, but there's no such thing as Egypt. It's Hakupata. We call it Kemet, but it's Hakupata. This space is set up, the Hill of Ptah, meaning that this is the space where the priesthood will have its established essence. And it is in this place that we will center the understanding and teachings of spirituality. Now, all of the ground that we cover is holy, but this space we designate as the Holy of Holies, meaning that this is the space that's been set aside for the express purpose of making sure that this group here, these ones here, do whatever it takes to not only understand the spiritual essence of who we are, not only understand the universe, but when they understand it, to share it with the rest of us. And we also understand that they cannot be who they are if they don't have within them our energy as well. All of us have the same energy, but it is these who have been set aside to do that, to draw a calendar, set aside to build pyramids, to the architecture. All these things been set aside for that. That's the Holy of Holies. But it doesn't mean that those around them is not holy. Can you see that, Ron?
Yeah, I do.
That's what I'm talking about when we say Holy of Holies. Any other questions or comments? One of the reasons it is important that we refrain from talking about, well, you've heard these words, we are word church, separating yourself from other people based on what you think you know, or causing people to feel that they're less than because they don't know what you know. It's important that we refrain from that, because then you're the ignorant of the ignorant. You're not the Holy of Holies. You're just ignorant. And your growth is stifled. However, when you know who you are and you can see who you are, because you are seeing not only with your eye, but your eyes are seeing the manifestation, the results of what you have experienced with your eye. And when that began to happen, what do you say? Well, that our desires are being realized in real time. We are able to read the signs of the times, and we are able to see the manifestation of what we are desiring for humanity. And what we are not saying is something that we have not even given thought to, that we have been put in this space because of the designation. There has to be a space that is created, that is protected, that is in a dome, that a spiritual dome that must be deemed as the place of the Holy of Holies. It doesn't mean that those who are not occupying that is not holy. What it does mean is that this has been set aside differently than what everyone else has been set aside for, because holy simply means to be set aside for an express purpose. Can you see that?
Yes.
And I'm saying that we have been set aside to fulfill a purpose. And when you are set aside to fulfill a purpose, it is not an easy thing to do. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to face trials. It doesn't mean that at all. It does mean that every trial you face strengthens you for the next trial and educates you so you can teach someone else so they can either avoid that trial or be strong enough to get through it. This journey does not exempt us from anything. The burdens that we face are there to strengthen us. And everything that troubles us is troubling someone else. And when we deal with it, when we get through it and we talk about it, and we talk about how we quote unquote set with it, and we talk about how we meditate, and we talk about all of these things, the methods rather, that we utilize to get through it, we are putting it in the macro. So when people go through things, they have access to the ways that we have dealt with them. They have access to the calmness or to the comfort that we have brought to each other and the comfort that the ancestors have brought to us. So our coming together is not for us just to talk about something to see what we know. It is to put the energy in the atmosphere, the energy in the environment for the express purpose of manifesting the truth in the earth and at the same time diminishing the death hole that the Neanderthal mindset has on those who occupy this globe. And that is the reason it is necessary for us to continue this journey and to embrace what resonates with you and raise questions about what you don't understand. This is not about preaching in the classical sense of preaching. This is about teaching in the spiritual sense of how things were taught in the spiritual places that were established by the kingdom of the Kushites. And here we are. The spiritual essence of the Kushite is still in this earth. And that spiritual essence of the Kushites that's in this earth is the essence that's guiding us right now. And the Kushites in this earth have made the spiritual essence of the Kushites in this earth has guided us and made it possible for us to become a unit for the express purpose of bringing harmony and peace to this celestial ball called Earth, so that the environment can be healed, so that the Earth can be delivered from what it has been subjected to. Matter of fact, to be healed from the disease that has been embedded in it, and break the spell of greed and ignorance so that humanity can flourish in the way that humanity was created to flourish, and that the gods, that the divine ones, that the essence of divinity can be recognized, embraced for what it is, and that is a guiding force based upon Mayat, housed in bodies that looks like, or that is the same image of those bodies that came from the womb of the spiritual Kushite. Questions or comments?
Yeah, good evening, family. Again, Pastor, I appreciate our conversation this evening. And you're speaking of the principles of Mayat, and I know we have heard them spoken in terms of righteousness. You talk about again in terms of justice or um, harmony. But I think one of the principles, that I've been meditating on is the one of order and arrangement. And I think tonight, as you speak about the femininity, with regards to order and arrangements, I think that that has been expressed very often with regards to appreciating the sequence of thought and action. And as a man thinketh, or as a person thinketh, so is he. I think to appreciate the respect that we should have for order and arrangement is something that, is constantly, I think manifesting with regards to how we're receiving, our spiritual awareness and enlightenment. And so I think that again, it's just something that we have to meditate on, when we talk about these principles. And again, as you had mentioned earlier about righteousness, I think it also reflects on truth, which is based on integrity and is based on honesty. And I think that in our spiritual development, I believe that it's now falling into an awareness that in terms of how we were taught and heard words, but being able to receive it from the ancient, Kemet philosophies and values and morals. So I just wanted to, again say, I know that we've heard the word Mayat, but just for the purpose of those on the call who may not, we talk about truth. And we said it, honesty and integrity. We're talking about, again, the importance of balance and having a respect for both masculine and the feminine, but being able to appreciate again order and arrangement. So I just wanted to share those thoughts because I think that as I hear you teach and others, I hear these principles mentioned all of the time, but I think to be able to meditate on it in terms of being able to foster a positive mindset is what I feel that's important. I mean, for me, but I just wanted to share that with everyone. I'm done. Hopefully that resonates unless there's any questions or comments.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Let me thank you for your presence this evening and the energy that you allowed me to embrace that is emitting from you and your presence. I solicit you to meditate on not only Mayat, but definitely the principles of Mayat and the power, the essence of femininity, because it cannot be overstated. And one of the reasons I do believe that it keeps coming up is because the source wants us above everything else to extricate from our thoughts, our emotions, anything that does not embrace the true essence of femininity and recognize it for what it is, life itself. Only life can give life. So having said that, if there are questions that comes to you during the course of this week, please make a note of them. And if you choose to do your own research and if you choose to look at what we have talked about or listen at and things come to you, please make a note of that as well. and we will respond to those questions and comments when we come back together. Again, thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your energy, guys. Hope you have a great week, okay?
Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you. You have a great
Take
evening.
care, family. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good week, everyone.
have a good week.